Right now, there are roughly 200 million people on this planet who use cannabis regularly. Most of them can describe exactly how it makes them feel. Almost none of them can explain why. The answer is not what you think it is. And it starts with something your brain was already producing long before cannabis ever existed. Most people assume cannabis works the same way alcohol does, or the same way caffeine does. A foreign chemical enters the body, forces its way into the brain, and overrides the system. A chemical intruder. Something the brain has to deal with rather than something it recognizes. That is not what happens. When THC, the active compound in cannabis, enters your bloodstream and reaches your brain, it does not force its way in. It fits perfectly, like a key into a lock that was already there. And the reason that lock was already there is one of the more surprising discoveries in the entire history of neuroscience. In 1988, a pharmacologist named Alan Howlett at St. Louis University made a discovery that should have made global headlines. She identified the first cannabinoid receptor in the human brain. A receptor, a specific molecular docking station that THC fits into almost perfectly. The question she immediately asked was the same question everyone should have asked. Why does the human brain have a receptor specifically designed to interact with a plant compound? The answer took another 4 years to find. In 1992, Israeli scientist Raphael Mekulam and his team discovered something extraordinary. The brain wasn't waiting for cannabis, it was producing its own version of it. They found a naturally occurring molecule inside the human brain that binds to the exact same receptors as THC. They named it anandamide, from the Sanskrit word for bliss. Your brain makes its own cannabis. It always has. This discovery revealed something that most people still don't know exists: the endocannabinoid system, a vast network of receptors spread throughout your brain and body that regulates some of the most fundamental aspects of human experience: mood, memory, appetite, pain, stress response, sleep, the ability to forget things that need to be forgotten. This system does not exist because of cannabis. Cannabis exists because of this system. The endocannabinoid system is one of the largest receptor systems in the entire human brain. It has been running inside every human being since before birth. It was present in our ancestors hundreds of millions of years ago. Researchers have found cannabinoid receptors in virtually every vertebrate species on Earth. Fish have them, birds have them, reptiles have them. The system is that old, that fundamental, that essential, and most people have never heard of it. Now here's what actually happens when THC enters your brain. THC is structurally similar to anandamide, your brain's own naturally produced cannabinoid, similar enough that it binds to the same receptors. But there is a critical difference. Anandamide breaks down quickly. Your brain produces it, it does its job, and specialized enzymes dismantle it within seconds. The signal is brief, controlled, precisely calibrated. THC does not break down quickly. When THC binds to your cannabinoid receptors, it stays there for hours. It keeps the receptor activated long past the point where your own naturally produced anandamide would have already been dismantled and cleared away. The signal that was designed to last seconds now lasts hours. This is why cannabis produces the effects it does. The cannabinoid receptors in your brain are not evenly distributed. They are concentrated in very specific regions, and understanding which regions have the most receptors explains almost everything about what THC actually does. The hippocampus, the region responsible for forming new memories, is densely packed with cannabinoid receptors. When THC floods these receptors, it disrupts the normal process of memory formation. This is why it becomes difficult to hold a chain of thought. Why conversations loop. Why you walk into a room and immediately forget why. Your hippocampus is receiving a signal it was not designed to sustain for that long. The basal ganglia, involved in movement, decision-making, and the experience of time, also contains a high concentration of cannabinoid receptors. When THC activates these receptors, time perception changes. Minutes feel longer, seconds stretch. This is not an illusion, it is a measurable neurological effect of sustained activation in a region that normally helps calibrate your internal clock. The nucleus accumbens, the brain's primary reward center, responds to THC by releasing dopamine. This is the part most people have heard about. but the mechanism is more nuanced than most explanations suggest. THC does not directly release dopamine. It suppresses the neurons that normally inhibit dopamine release. It removes the brake. Dopamine floods the reward circuit not because THC pushed an accelerator, but because it cut the brake line. The result is a feeling of reward without a specific cause. Pleasure untethered from achievement. The brain's reward system firing in a way that evolution designed for eating, for social connection, for survival, now firing in the absence of any of those things. Architecture just is associated with different outcomes than adult use. The system being disrupted in an adolescent brain is not fully formed. It is still building the structure it will use for the rest of that person's life. In adult brains, the picture is considerably more complicated. Research has found both potential risks and potential therapeutic applications. CBD, the non-psychoactive compound in cannabis, has demonstrated genuine medical utility for certain seizure disorders. THC itself has shown promise in specific pain management and appetite stimulation contexts. The science is not clean. It is not settled. It is ongoing. What is settled is this: the endocannabinoid system is real. It is essential. It has been running inside human beings for hundreds of millions of years. And cannabis works not by introducing something foreign to the brain, but by mimicking something the brain already does, and sustaining that mimicry far longer than the brain was designed to maintain it. The feeling of relaxation, of altered perception, of time slowing down, of thoughts feeling more significant than usual, none of that is cannabis doing something to your brain. It is your brain doing what it was always designed to do, with the timing completely removed. Your brain already had everything cannabis was going to offer. It just had it in precisely controlled doses that lasted seconds at a time. Cannabis takes that same system and holds the switch in the on position for hours. Whether that is harmful, helpful, or simply different depends on questions that neuroscience is still in the process of answering. Questions about dosage, frequency, age, genetic variation, and individual neurological differences that make each brain's response to THC genuinely unique. Every human brain on this planet has it. It was there before you were born. It will be there for the rest of your life. You have been using it every day without knowing its name. And the plant that most people think of as something external, something foreign, fits into it so precisely that for decades, scientists assumed the brain must have evolved the receptor specifically to receive it. It hadn't. The brain built the lock for its own reasons. The plant simply happened to carry the key.